Ooh, and welcome everybody to Live at the Hive, episode 200 of Digital Marketing from the Trenches. I am Dan Nadelko.
And I'm Courtney Castle.
And I'm Suchita Gadekar.
And our lovely background lounge music is brought to you by Restream.io, licensed and royalty free. So today is a very special episode of Live at the Hive. Let's just see, there's Benny popping up. We'll just wait for some people to get into chat. April saying, wow, fancy. There we go.
She liked the star swipe.
Paige is saying happy 200th. And Brandon, very clean transition. I gotta say that the transitions and some of the features of the Restream Live Studio, they kind of got me a little bit more than good old StreamYard, but nothing against StreamYard. StreamYard is great.
Yeah, we've been testing them out. We'll see. This is our test run today.
It sure is. So I'll put the lounge music in the background for a little bit here. Yeah, so 200 episodes, almost 3 full years. I think I only missed a couple over those. Courtney, you were around for a lot of those as well.
Yep, they're right there from the get-go when you were like, we're going to live stream this Friday. It's happening.
Yes.
And then it just never stopped after that.
That's exactly true. So today what we are talking about is why you need a paid and organic strategy in your marketing strategy and some of the different types of attribution models. I know that's probably a new thing for a lot of people out there, especially if you're not heads deep in the digital marketing world, but we are going to talk about the importance of attribution. We're also going to talk about the critical importance of shared attribution, assisted conversions, and how things all work together in a real way so that you're not just throwing money at Google ads and then dismissing organic, or just doing organic and dismissing any paid. There's definitely a long continuum, and I know, Suchita, you kind of live this every single day.
Yeah, every single day.
And we are going to talk about the ludicrousness of last click conversion. And I'm probably going to have a couple of mic drops on that. Because,
there'll be a rant or two once we get to that.
Quite possibly, quite possibly. So Yvonne is saying happy 200th. Thank you, Yvonne.
Woo-hoo.
April's saying, I think you only missed 2. And hey, look who's here, Matei.
Look who it
Welcome,
is.
Matei. We're glad to see you. Hope things are well, buddy.
Miss your laughing face.
I'm even look at that. I'm even posting up Matthew's. I could actually, if you guys really want to get fancy, look at what we can do now. Oh well, it doesn't show the previous ones, but yeah.
The comment stream.
Yeah. There you go.
I like it.
So we could do that as well, and we could feature. Depends on how active our chat gets. All right. So yes, like I said today, organic and paid work together like peanut butter and jelly. We're going to talk about that. In fact, we've had certain projects where the client has, in fact, demanded to cut ad spend and or cut organic. It just really never ends well, right? It's never a good thing to dismiss kind of a holistic view of how you communicate with the world.
100%. I would say you should look at the channel as you're either investing in it or you're not. Don't think, are you doing an organic calendar or are you doing paid? It's like, if you're on Facebook, be on Facebook. Give yourself the best kick at the can you can, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But before we do that, I think I have, hold on here. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm just trying to get my, there we go. Trying to get things in.
See, I told you it would come in handy.
All of the required sound effects for today. Perfect. Okay. So, before we jump into that, it's that time of the week again for what's new in the world of digital marketing. So we can run down the list here. Oops. Just get this sorted.
We have some pretty interesting articles today. Some big things happening.
We do, indeed. Wait, that's not the right one. Oh, it's going to be this one. There we go. So we even have a new view of how the screen sharing works, so everybody should be able to see it in all of its glory. So the first one here, and I know Suchita, you know all about this, and Courtney, you were talking a little bit about it too, but bye-bye to last-click attribution as the default model.
Yeah, I think Dan's the most happiest for this one. But Yeah, that's good. Though Google Ads is just applying this attribution just for ads, not
Hmm.
yet for the conversion tracking, but at least that's a good step. So it's really nice.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So a couple of points out of this, the five other attribution models, we are going to talk about those, time decay, all sorts of other ones here. Those are staying, right? It's just the default. So I think that's going to, I don't know. As a straw poll, I don't know what either of you think, but I would say 95% of every attribution I've ever seen set up in any ad platform is last click.
Yeah, I would say it being the default, that some people aren't even aware that that's something that they could be choosing or, configuring, to be honest. I think most people are like, let's get this ad live. It's default. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that is a bit of an epidemic with how people will launch an ad. They just slap some ad copy up there, have it drive to their homepage. No pixel, no attribution setup, no tracking, no audience development. It's another one that removing the default will definitely make a big difference here. And we are going to talk about this a little bit more. I like this view too. This view is pretty cool. In this, it really is, last click is an extremely simplistic, and it never gives you the right amount. Right? It never gives you the right amount of information. Sorry, I actually am streaming. We are streaming today to Twitch. So my Moo bot, which is a Twitch bot, is asking for an update ever so rudely in the comments. So it's all good. But what happens with this last click attribution being the default, by its very nature, it cuts out every other interaction that anyone has ever had in the scope of that, in the scope of their customer journey, right?
Yeah, it cuts out any of the top of funnel or middle of funnel activities typically, which people obviously have a huge problem with. Yeah, it's not, like you said, it leaves a huge gap in your data. And yeah, overall, I think marketers this is kind of a win on our side. I know a lot of marketers have not been a fan of the last click for a while. So I don't know. I'm curious what you think about the new default being AI driven, though, because there wasn't a huge warm welcome when they had their smart ads launched. Do you think this is going to be any better, or?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think about the Google's AI, and again, I think this is part of it, is you can't really solely just rely on Google's attribution data in Google Ads. You've got to look at the bottom line, and you've got to build your attribution and your tracking on top of that, so you can correlate what Google is reporting with their actual with your actual numbers. So am I a fan of Google automatically saying we're going to pick it for you? Not really. Not at all.
Yeah.
Now, having said that, is it better than the last click attribution being the default? Absolutely. Even a poorly chosen AI model is going to be better than a last click conversion, because and not to kind of belabor it, because we are going to talk about it in a little bit, is we have seen when bad data has driven really bad business decisions, that has had a massive bottom line effect on the overall performance, because you can't see at a certain point any further interactions to say, well, yes, our organic search contributed this, our social contributed this, these referral links contributed this to the final purchase. If you don't know any of that, you could be eliminating a channel that is actually probably one of your most important as a contributing factor to your conversion success. Bam. Ooh, whoa, that's an interesting one. Okay, there we go. All right, so moving right along. The only one thing about this, Sashita, did you have anything else to add in terms, like, we are going to dig in later on, everyone, just so you know, we are going to dig into the types of attribution models, but just from that perspective, Sashita, did you have anything you wanted to add on here in terms of attribution models?
Yeah,
I don't
I
want to
think
put you on
just
the spot.
no, but I just think, yeah, it's a good first step, and hopefully they will expand this default to, time decay and other attribution models in the coming few days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I think one of the most important things, and again, like we're kind of talking about this throughout, we need to be able to model tracking to take into account how people really interact with the product, whether it's a purchase or whether it's a subscription or whether it's a service call or whether it's an inbound inquiry. You've got to really model that tracking on top of how people are actually doing it instead of trying to impose what you think. And that's a really big danger in the world of digital marketing for sure.
100%. I think a lot of people don't go back and check that. They spend a lot of time and effort and money building the funnel, and then they don't actually go back and, confirm that funnel is the actual path people are taking. So,
There's
yeah.
a lot of misconceptions and I think straw man arguments when it comes to having discussions with businesses about attribution, what is contributing from marketing. And like I said, the biggest danger, not to belabor the point, but one of the biggest dangers is absolutely that the final click, I'm being covered up by Benny. The final click here, there we go. The final click is quite typically to a purchase is actually a direct type, right? So someone typing in the URL, especially if they've had 3 or 4 interactions, that direct type then shows up as the number one source, which then people on the business side may sit there and look at it and go, see, our marketing isn't doing anything. When in fact, it does the majority of the work to do the heavy lifting to get someone there. So, there you go. All right, next up, Halloween for brands. So this is an interesting little giveaway from the TikTok for Business team. It's actually pretty well done. Nice leaves falling there. That's cute. But some interesting stuff. The spike in Halloween hype, pretty obviously, it all happens around October 31st, without a doubt. One of the other things, this one I actually found this to be a little bit curious, how 2020 had an all-time high of spending per person during the middle of a global pandemic and lockdown. So they have a reference for it, but I'm a little skeptical on how that could possibly be.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Maybe people, because we were all like hard up for things to do, we all went like all in on Halloween last year or something.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that's a fair one. So this article here does give you some good TikTok Talktober hashtags, the top hashtags you can look at, how to think outside of the box and the costume, giving some different ideas here for content creators. And then what it is really, these are scary good opportunities for brands. And they've got some examples here, some larger, some smaller. Definitely, I think worth checking out. And you should definitely be planning your Halloween. Obviously, that's only 2 weeks away. But Black Friday, Cyber Monday, November 26th, I believe. And then that gears right into Christmas. And then, it's pretty much already the new year. And there you go.
Not to terrify anyone or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay. So up next, we have got Instagram. The only one thing about this is I have to reshare the screen every time I want to do this, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. All right. So IG live broadcasts in-app have the ability to schedule new lives. I guess the only one thing is this is only done through the app, right? So there's no, yeah.
I found the most interesting thing was that you can do it up to 3 months ahead of time. So it's like, seems like they're trying to mimic Facebook events almost, where, clearly they think the lives maybe need a bit more of a push or a bit more help behind them. So I thought that was kind of an interesting aspect, instead of it being more of an instantaneous kind of, content that someone would plan and promote and have it more, not necessarily like a webinar, but an event to attend.
Absolutely. Yeah. The one thing is they're talking about live commerce. TikTok's also exploring it. I guess the one thing about, the rationale for Facebook is they have kind of zombie cannibalistic products, right? And this makes it a little bit more challenging. So you've got Facebook Live, Then you have IG Live. They run on very similar underlying platforms. Facebook has API access, so you can do kind of what we're doing right now, which is streaming to Facebook, but we're going through third-party software to help enable the production. On IG, none of that's happening. And so it feels a little bit like Facebook is kind of like a series of fiefdoms that are operating independently, and some IG team is saying, let's really double down on IG Live. And there's a Facebook team saying, hey, no, let's double down on Facebook Live, when it doesn't feel congruous, It feels like it's disconnected and not making a lot of sense. I don't know what both of you think about that, but.
Yeah, I agree for sure. I've always felt that the lives kind of and the IGTV kind of hang out in their own little world. Like they were never, in my opinion, adopted like quite so much as the stories and reels and the other features. And yeah, and I feel like they're kind of circling back now and definitely trying to catch up almost. But now everyone's, I don't know, it's kind of counterintuitive. It's longer video content, right? And that's definitely not been the trend recently. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is definitely in the realm of the influencer, where they may have a larger Instagram audience that they've developed over the years. So this would be good. I do think there's going to be a war between TikTok and Instagram, possibly with Facebook integrating into that fight as well, with in-shopping video, which is just a massive. I don't know if either of you have heard of this, but live stream product shows, kind of like the Home Shopping Network if you're in Canada, or what is it in the States? What is it? I can't remember what it's called in the States.
But like the shopping channel, yeah.
The shopping channel. That's right. The shopping channel. In China, all the rage right now are live videos where people are just doing product demonstrations and people can purchase directly on the live, and it's like taken off. So it's really the 21st century version of the shopping channel.
Yeah, that's kind of funny how that's like recycled, because that was obviously like a huge thing, and everyone got a good laugh out of all of the the demo commercials and stuff people used to do back in the day.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Funny.
Exactly. Well, what's old is new again, right? We talk about that a lot, where it's like the technology is one thing, but human nature hasn't changed. So it's just, you went from home shows that you would go to. I mean, they're still around, but where you go and you buy these things and you see all the demonstrations. And then there was like the Home Shopping Network, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or the shopping channel. And now here we are in 2021 looking at a TikTok live stream where people can just push one button and automatically have it purchase complete and shipping, and Amazon will deliver it by a drone within 24 hours, kind of thing.
It'd be cool to do like an auction that way.
Or something. I mean, there's there's a lot of great opportunities there for, especially what we're seeing now, just in general, not to belabor the point. It used to be that businesses would create media efforts or buy media efforts to sell a product, right? But what's really happening these days is content creators, who are the influencers, who are now becoming the 21st century celebrities, are starting the other way around. They're starting as media companies, building up huge audiences, and then like Mr. Beast can launch Beast Burger in 4,000 locations across the United States in like a record period of time, and have a viable business like straight out of the box, right? It's absolutely, it really is kind of insane, for sure.
I think it's funny. It opens it up to like anyone kind of in a certain way,
It does. You could go viral. You could have a live stream and you could go viral, and bam, you're selling stuff. April's saying it feels like all of Facebook's products are their own entity. They don't feel that connected to one another. Totally agreed. Couldn't agree more. It's just I think it's just a result of their size, right? And I don't know how you get well, I know how you get around it, but Mark Zuckerberg would not like the suggestion on that. All right. So Sashita, this one is in your world here.
Yeah, for sure. So just a little background on what the article is about. So we have Facebook account centers, which connects you to Instagram, Messenger, and Facebook. So sometimes you can log in using your Instagram account on Facebook or your Facebook account on Instagram. So sometimes people don't connect these two together. And what Facebook is going to be doing moving forward is counting people whose users whose accounts aren't connected as a unique user. So if somebody sees your ad, if somebody logs in using Facebook and sees the ad, the same person can see it on Instagram, but they'll be counted as two unique impressions.
Yeah, so that, yeah, I mean, you are the same person. So I think this is more of the difficulty. I think this is probably less that we will consider the accounts as separate people. I think from a tracking perspective, like, how do you know, right? Like, you don't know if you haven't physically connected those two apps, or Facebook somehow forces you to connect them. It's not that they're considering it as separate people. They wouldn't know unless they were, well, cookieing, et cetera, which, as we know, there's all sorts of trouble around privacy. So I think this is more of a reaction to that. And I think it's less that they would want to do that and more that they have to for this linking.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's just to show the potential reach, show the numbers greater than what they would be. But I think in terms of analysis and as marketers, it's just going to be incorrect to depend on those numbers.
Absolutely.
It's also going to impact your frequency number too, if I'm not mistaken, because it won't count them as seeing it twice, and knowing the touch points of that person is exactly what we're talking about today, So
yes, absolutely. So you got to watch if your numbers jump up in the coming months. Don't go, having a presentation for all of your C-level executives about this, because you could be proven wrong. The estimates could be off. So you do want to take that into account when you're thinking about all of your fun attribution, since that's something we're talking about. Oh my God, we got to get going here. Let's keep it moving. Yeah. And we even have bloopers and stuff we have to go over here. So more on the world of confusing Facebook things. Facebook is launching Reels on Facebook in the US. That's just really them pushing Insta Reels over as Facebook Reels.
Yeah, it's like they display the Reels, but then when you go to watch the full thing, it wants to take you over to Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like I saw this experience, and that kind of puzzles me a little. Why are they trying to move people over? I don't know.
Yeah, I think, they have lots of rationales. There's new discoverability, right? So, I mean, if this is an effort to drive people from Facebook over into Instagram and actually take advantage of potentially an alternate algorithm for discoverability, I think we're going to talk about this, but Facebook is becoming a bit of a hot mess on the mobile app. It's still obviously highly used, but there's a lot that they're jamming in there on a very regular basis.
Yeah, if you use the Facebook backend for marketing at all, you're probably, it is a hot mess to say the least, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so last one for today, and then we'll dive into some bloopers and some way back playbacks. Twitter is testing ads in tweet replies. Interesting. Testing a new ad format in tweet conversations. You've part of test, iOS and Android only, global. First, third, or eighth reply under a tweet. So this could lead to all sorts of hilarious memes, I'm sure.
Yeah, I was saying to Dan before the live that I really wish a brand would come out swinging and do a really hilarious reply that to the actual tweet, but they're just gonna run someone's gonna run a generic brand ad and just get lambasted for it or something.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical about how this is going to fly for users, especially on Twitter, and what kind of feedback. We all know that Twitter can be a rage machine, where people that are normal, functioning human beings in society get on Twitter and the alter ego comes out. I think you got to really have context for what's going on here to avoid some goofy ad placements in potentially inappropriate conversations. But TBD, Twitter has really been doing a lot of very agile, very fast implementations and pulling new features out and then deep sixing them, months later. one thing for Twitter is if you are using this and, if Twitter's one of the areas where you are actually putting a lot of effort, I think one of the things is be careful. We always say be an early adopter, but don't go, don't go diving in with tons of resources initially, because you may want to take a step back and test it and see if that feature is even going to exist in 2 or 3 months, because the way that the pace is happening, you could invest a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe you would do well with it, and then yoink, it's going to be gone by the platform.
That's true. I would say it's impressive in the rollout side for Twitter, but I would say there's a certain amount of throwing spaghetti at the wall recently, which isn't bad per se, but they've got to do something to compete. So
yeah, I think this came from a number of influencers and larger brands saying that they're hesitant to go all in on a new feature, mainly because we don't know if it's going to be there in 3 or 6 months. So if I build up a revenue stream, or I build up my audience to expect this, and you pull it away. So I think they need to slow down a little bit, be a little bit more consistent, because I think the end sum result is damaging their own potential engagement, because people are just a little gun shy over investing and starting something and seeing it pulled away, right? It's like the old no soup for you. All right, before we dive into it, let's take a little trip down memory lane and look at the very first opening to the very first episode 1 of Live at the Hive. Live at the Hive.
Welcome.
We're in our premiere episode this week, Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock, live from Uptown Waterloo in the heart of Silicon Valley North. I'm practicing my radio voice. That's really what's going on. Yeah, I know. I listen to a lot of Howard Stern.
Yeah. So you're basically living your dream right now.
Pretty much. Okay, so. Yeah. Or maybe that should be something more like this. I have mixed feelings on it. That the mic was too far away, but you know what? That is the premiere episode from three and a half years ago. I'm not sure now.
I think it's almost 4 years ago, actually, because I was looking at the dates on that. I think it was like coming up on 4. So
April's saying, "LOL, this is way back." Yeah, we're going back. We're going back in time.
We dug into the archives for some gems for you, April. Don't worry.
We sure did.
Hi, I'm Stacy DeSantis, and I'm Courtney Castle.
It's let's pre-qualify Stacy's current mood, which is Friday afternoon.
Yep.
It's been
The countdown has begun.
The countdown has begun, and you may notice on the main stream, Matt. Yeah, right there. You're just yeah. There we go. We've got. There we go.
One of the many different setups this show has gone through.
Yes, we have had back when people could be within 6 feet of each other. So crazy. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things. We've gone from my old office to a studio room, and then we got shut down. So then everybody's doing this. And then we shut down our physical office because we hadn't been there in almost 2 years. So what's the point? Then
that's right.
And then that prevented.
Hi, I'm Stacy DeSantis, and I'm Courtney Castle.
It's Friday at 4 o'clock. I'm physically and mentally checked out, is what she's saying with her body language there. There we go. And April's saying Matt made that live. Well, yes, that was, I think, I don't know, Matt was either sick or something happened that day, so I took over the producer roles.
But he'll always be producer Matt, though.
That's right. He is producer Matt forever. And this was the first time that I ever went away and left it in the capable hands of Courtney and Carolyn. And here was the end result. Actually, I'll do it like this because it's probably easier. I can see reactions here. Looking down in the bottom left.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're just
Something's wrong with the camera. I couldn't imagine what. There we go.
That is why All right.
And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken on that one, that the the famous or infamous
episode, yes.
Yeah.
Courtney was never allowed to host again.
I I do remember because that was when I had gone up north to Algonquin, and I think I was like driving, and I thought, oh well, you know what? I can just quickly check in on the live stream, and I had my head down on the steering wheel for about 10 minutes because it was like 10 minutes. I think it was quite a while, if I recall correctly, that it was.
Yeah, that was also the episode we invited the marketing team from Laurier. It was like a bunch of like these students to tune in, so they were all like, okay. It was just perfect.
Awesome. Alrighty, so what's happening? That's an interesting sound. Okay, so let's jump right into it. I've got the presentation up. Oops. Let me just get that. Yeah, wave, Courtney. There we go. There we go. So, episode 200, why do you need a paid and organic marketing plan? I know that we've also queued up a few things here for everybody, including some clips from previous episodes where we did talk about similar things just a little bit further back in time. So who wants to run over what's on tap? I feel like I'm talking a lot today.
Yeah, I can go through it. Yeah, like we've already kind of touched on a few things, but basically we wanted to go through what the potential is when you combine your paid and organic marketing together, how that's actually done through some audience development and authentic audience development. And then we're going to go through a few different attribution models and talk about which one's right for your business, which one's going to give you the most accurate results depending on your sales cycle, your product, different things like that. So and then I think we'll round it out with a few tips on how to get the most accurate data possible, and you should have some great reporting tips by the end of it.
Awesome. All right, so let's dive in. And once again, I think one of the things we want to talk about is the absolute importance of giving yourself budget for organic, because organic is not free, right? You're just not directly paying against an advertising spend. You're paying for content development, content creation, content strategy. So the notion that this organic stuff is free is a misnomer. It really isn't free. It's just where you put your dollars versus, whoa. Is that me? Is that me? Do I have sounds going on in the background here? Let's see what's happening here. Stop sounds. I think it is me. Go ahead.
But I agree with that 100%. And it is, doing a lot of content marketing myself, things like your social media content calendar, something that has to happen, the heartbeat items that tend to be kind of overlooked, but are really at the core of any of your marketing strategies. Like if you are running Facebook ads and someone goes to check out your page for credibility and you haven't posted in a few months or a few years even, you're shooting yourself in the foot. And I believe Sashita, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the quality of your organic page and your ad account also are kind of like linked as well and impact one another.
For sure, and we can use these channels, in so many different ways if they're correctly set up. And like I always say, like digital marketing is a holistic approach. Like you don't have to depend just on one platform or one channel to get your digital traffic.
Yeah, for sure. I think the other thing to keep in mind as well is that your organic content can be promoted with paid efforts, right? So you create your content holistically. And this is an important thing with the intersection of organic and paid, is you create using a singular content strategy and then determine where in the funnel and what messaging you want to give so that you have got you can boost organic content. It can be part of the top of the funnel that then leads you through to the bottom of the funnel where you end up getting that conversion as well. I think that's an important distinction to be making. Okay.
For sure, yeah. I like to think of it as the fuel. Anytime you layer any sort of paid spend on it, they should constantly be complementing one another. And that's really how you're going to get the best results because for example, like there's a very, common example that Dan and I've discussed before where you have a meme perhaps that you've posted that's going, organically getting good reception, theoretically going viral, and then you boost it for some spend, and then you just amplify those results. And that's really what paid and organic are meant to do together, no matter what channel you're on. Obviously, this could be, Google Ads, this could be Facebook, this could be, insert name of platform here. But kind of what we said earlier, look at the platform as a whole. Like if you're going to invest time in it and budget, go for the best results you could possibly get.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so there is something going on in the background here. So Sashita, maybe you can speak to quickly while I just sort out my music, some of the background here, the importance of tracking and the importance of the setup and where you should be tracking.
Yeah, for sure. I think tracking, keeping your pixel, adding your pixel code to your website, adding your Google Analytics code, being the most basic steps. It's just going to help you understand your traffic and make the right decisions in terms of even like your ad spend, your conversions, your costs, and so many other things. So yeah, tracking definitely plays an important role when you are strategizing not just for your ads but also for other platforms, even social. And it also helps you to use different channels to build your audience, and yeah, keep building your audience and also understanding your audiences, and then retaining those audiences.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also really super important to understand where a goal occurs. So in your purchase path and in your promotional path, you want to highlight, like write it out, highlight and check mark the points that are considered a goal within that total funnel. Document all of it first, write it out, and then when you have that list, a tracking team or somebody that you do can use Google Tag Manager, they can use Google Analytics, they can use Google Ads. They all work together so that you can then test the quality of those leads and then test what's called the reverse funnel. So you can compare your actual funnel with what's called the reverse funnel, which is what's really happening.
I think that's a really good point. And I think that that's often a step that's overlooked, in not necessarily because people don't think it's important, but in the haste to get leads and sales, people often kind of like do what needs to be done and overlook the proper setup and integrations and really the full potential of some of these tools that are in your marketing stack that are showing you these reports. So yeah, I think if anything, I would just tell people, just please take the time to just set up that tracking from the get-go so you have something to optimize, once things are live and running.
Cool. Okay, so let's see here. Moving right. Can you guys still hear the clicking?
I can, yes.
I'm trying to figure out who or what it is.
I can't hear it though, so.
Let me just make a quick change. Like I can actually hear it, but I don't know where it's coming from because I don't have anything running.
We told you it'd be a test run of this new platform.
Yeah.
Some features we like, some maybe not so much.
I'm not sure. Give me 1 second here and we'll get back to it. I don't know if it's you ladies or if it's...
There you go.
That's Sashita. You got some clicking happen there, Sashita.
Oh, that's why probably I couldn't hear it.
All right, so we will keep going and hopefully, well, I can mute Sashita until you raise your hand. How's that? We'll just do that for now.
All right.
It's not nice, but there we go. So next up, and Sashita, do you want to talk about, I know you do a lot of audience development, but really, like, I mean, there are audience developments here, but I'm talking about physical audiences on the ad platforms, remarketing audiences, lookalike audiences. Oh, there you go. Your clicking is gone. You fixed it, Sashita.
Okay, great.
All right. So in terms of audiences, what are some of the tips that you've got, Sashita, in terms of the types of audiences you should be developing?
Yeah, again, depending on what platform you're using, but I think Facebook lets you build a lot of custom audiences. So building your audiences through recent website visitors, people who have engaged with your Facebook page, and people who have maybe done video views on your Facebook posts or even your ads. That helps you build a lot of audiences, and then you can add custom messages through to these audiences, and that would, I think, increase more engagement and try to connect more with your audience.
That is an angel-worthy answer. Yes, that is correct. So the thing here is that when you are building audiences, this is one of the most important things, is that is the data that you are paying for. So you have website interactions, you have mobile app interactions, you've got on Facebook and on Instagram interactions, and then you can do custom conversions and offline conversions as well. So you can, I mean, there are various ways to put together your audiences. What you really want to think about is, am I targeting my audience, and how do I get them through so I can target those people that have expressed an interest to build up the multiple touches that we have in terms of, you know, advertising to an audience. I did one for Kitchener-Waterloo, and I think up to Milton. It's like 1.6 million people, right? 1.6 million of those people will not be interested in what you're doing, but so you don't want to advertise to them and spend your money. It's effectively what it comes down to.
And I feel like a lot of people get stuck in that realm, though, of Facebook, is they look at the geographic and maybe some super basic demographic targeting, and then and then wonder why this very vague targeting isn't producing better results for them. So yeah, for sure. I'm just gonna actually do this and go. Oops, I had it here, but maybe I moved it. Okay, I'm just pull this up. So we're going to talk about the different types of attribution models. Now, this attribution model, we're going to use a Google example. So this is not Google specific. Okay, so every platform will have attribution modeling that you can implement on a paid perspective. These are the most common ones, and it's a pretty decent layout. So, very quickly, and we are going to talk about the last interaction, aka the evil last click. I want to do a shirt that says last click with a red thing through it, right? No last clicks, we hate them. And we're going to talk about why. Okay, so there's a non-direct click where all direct traffic is ignored, okay? And so I actually would not say that this is good. This is not good as well from my perspective, and I'll tell you why. So we're going to a little bit of a rant and rave here. Direct traffic is typically the top referral or the top traffic source into your website. If you don't understand that users and customers will, at a purchase decision, will often directly type to your website, to your product page to get there. It's very, very common that they will do that, especially if they've had a consideration for quite some time. So if you exclude the last non-direct click, you're not understanding your full funnel, right? You're excluding it and only attributing things to your paid effort. Are there scenarios where this could be useful? For sure. In general, would I say use it? Probably not. But that's just me. The last Google Ads click attribution model. It's the first and only click to the paid search channel gets 100% of the credit for the sale. In this case, if you understand your full funnel and you really just want to see what the paid search channel was resulting in, even if it's 4 clicks before it, this could be useful. Okay. The first interaction, first touch point, in this case, it's the paid search channel as an example. So whatever first interaction it is, the first touch point, that's what's going to get 100%. So, just to talk this through a little bit and talking about, paid and organic and why you need to use them together, this attribution model becomes extremely important. Otherwise, you're basically cutting the arms and the legs off of an athlete and telling them to, that's a terrible analogy, but telling them to then go run a 100-yard dash, right? Yeah, I don't feel like that one gets all the credit that it deserves sometimes, because it kind of depends on what section of the funnel you're looking at. Like as a content marketer and lead generation focused, that first attribution is like, that first interaction is important to me. You know, it's like you're not
Yep.
always focusing solely on conversions, you know? So I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. Sashita, do you have any additional favorites in here in terms of ones that
I,
you like to use?
yeah, I think time decay would be my favorite as well, just because, again, we can consider all the channels that lead to the conversion. And for me, I think it's very important to look at all your channels, because shutting one or ignoring one can um, have a catastrophic effect on, like, on the other channels. So yeah, definitely time decay.
Yeah. And we, like I said, we have literally seen this happen in real time.
Yeah.
So this is heed the warnings here. You know, any one of these last three, in my opinion, are probably the stronger ones. You could do equal credit. That's a simpler model. So that's just a linear attribution model. Time decay, the further away from that final conversion, the less attribution the first ones get, right? So that's actually fair. It's a little bit more advanced. And position-based, I think you also should understand, if you've got insights into this multiple channel attribution funnel, or MCF, if you know more about it, you can assign your own credit weighting to that, but that should come from understanding. Like, so for example, if I'm Mr. Beast, I don't know, just to use an example, one of the biggest YouTubers in the world, obviously my social traffic is going to be my number one I want to attribute most to, because it's my number one source, and I know that to be the case, right? So like I said, you don't want to necessarily just go, you could start out with a linear attribution model. At least it's a barometer and gives you an idea of what's happening.
Yeah, I've often seen that that's a good introduction, especially if you're moving from like a super basic model, or perhaps like not really any model at all, depending on how much you're tracking, is just at least start with linear and move, you know, and you could always like move on from there. But yeah, I also favor time decay, because I feel like it's the most logical way to reduce that bias as much as possible towards any of the, you know, any of the portion of the funnel. But yeah, you're right. The business owner and the marketers themselves, you'll know your business funnel and your funnel the best, and how your customers should interact with your product or your service. So use that
Absolutely.
information too.
Absolutely. So we've got some Twitch streamers watching, Twitch viewers. We got a couple people on YouTube, so please stop and say hi in the comments. We will definitely feature you on the stream. So thanks for showing up. Don't forget to like and subscribe, follow, drop some bits. I don't know. Keep doing what you're doing, right? Let's do it all. So one thing is, so let's talk about an assisted conversion and why attribution modeling is strong here. I'll hand this one over to you, Courtney, and to Sashita, in terms of this little example. I know, Courtney, I think you had put this one together, this little sample.
Yeah, our little day in the life of an assisted conversion. And our little quote is, you know, no one ever just says like you just found out about a company and you're going to make that purchase right then and there in that moment. Like, that very rarely happens.
Unless you're
you
me
know,
on Amazon.
yeah, there's a time and a place, or if you're like super hungry and are walking by a restaurant, you know,
Yeah.
it doesn't never happen. But most of the time for a marketer, there's going to be a funnel that someone, and a journey someone takes to that end purchase. And really, we want to know what credit to assign to all these different touch points, which ones are the most effective, as someone goes from the first time they heard about your brand because they saw, you know, a viral TikTok that you posted, down to actually being on your purchase page. So, you know, we have Benny B here, you know, who's gone, he's engaged with someone, seen their a post via Instagram about a sale that a business is having. And there might be time between these different interactions as well. It's not all happening within a few hours. You know, he goes to work, he has a day, you know, he comes back, he maybe visits their website and signs up for their email newsletter. And depending on your sales cycle, this could be a matter of, you know, a few days, or you could be looking at a sales cycle of like a year, depending on what your product is. So, you know, insert as many touch points here as you can imagine, and think about the continuity that's required in those touch points, the more that there are, so that the conversation you're having with someone flows. And, you know, they're by their third touch point or seventh touch point, you're not just, yelling that same top of funnel message at them, So that's part of it that I find very challenging with brands, is pulling people through the story that way from a communication perspective.
For sure. Brander Dash, welcome. I'm late. What did I miss? Well, we can quickly show you. We were doing some outtakes from the 200th episode, and just for Brander Dash, since they're late, and this is our cringy. Oh wait, I'll use this one here so I can do the sound effects. This was, how long ago was this, Courtney? 2.5 years? I mean, it was pretty early on, I think, because you're still in my office, right? My old office.
It's one of the first episodes.
Yeah, there we go. So, oops, I'm going to have to do something like this. Oh, here, I'll do this. And here we go. And this is the zoom shot down in the lower left. Courtney was the producer Courtney. Shining. There you go. Now, for context for everybody, that particular unfortunate zoom was on there for at least like 5 to 8 minutes, I'm pretty sure. It wasn't that short of a period of time. They had fun. And look, hey, you know what? It was all the ladies, so it's not like there was, anything odd going on from some unscrupulous male.
Nope. One of our most popular live streams.
It was, and it was 100% girl boss owned on that one. So just to jump back here, so let's talk a little bit about how people interact, right? Typically, so Benny's on his work commute, probably taking the subway, who knows? And Money Honey's got an Instagram ad that looks interesting, gonna get some honey. But Benny's got to go to work, so just makes a note of it, maybe favorites it. I do this on TikTok with products. I'll do it on Amazon with wish lists. So, not that that's scientific, but it's very, very common. Each one of these triggers an interaction in your multi-channel funnel, okay? And so if you started with an ad and it was a good video that was highly engaging and didn't suck, and Benny here is going to tap on it or save it, that is recorded as an interaction, right? So your first interaction happens. Benny is now added to a custom audience, and that audience can then be further filtered for different types of content. And again, we're kind of focusing a lot on the paid side and attribution, but really like what we're talking about is this is how you merge organic with paid, where they're not two separate things, where your paid efforts are not just I put an ad on, right? I've got a pre-roll ad on YouTube that's effectively a TV commercial. Get out, right? That's the first thing. Car companies, they drive me crazy. It's like Lincoln Continental on YouTube. It's like, has anyone ever really consumed that Lincoln Continental ad and been like, wow, that's awesome? Or if they skipped it after 4 seconds, right? So the point is, without belaboring the point too much, is the fact that your organic content is more powerful in digital realms when you use your paid advertising budgets to boost your organic content, right? And it's a continuum here. Same thing as the attribution is, so Benny made a note of it, closes the ad, didn't do anything yet. After a long, hard day, Benny went to go check it out, signs up for an email subscription to get that first purchase discount because it's a consideration, right?
Yes, and if this were the first interaction model, and Benny eventually made a purchase, that first video that he liked on Instagram would get 100% of the credit for that. Just to give you an example of why people have a bit of a beef with that model.
Yeah, exactly. So in this third interaction, Benny got an email alert. Maybe it's maybe it's an additional bonus or a bundle or something like that. So we're in a third simplified interaction. Clicks through on the email, and finally decides to make a purchase. Last click would say the email did it, right? But Benny never would have gotten there if he didn't have that Instagram boosted ad happening, right? And we are tracking all of this. Now, they're usually a lot more complex, right? And the question really is which channel converted him? All of them. That's the answer. There we go. We gave away the answer. And this stuff is all super important in terms of the attribution modeling. And this is why you need it. And this is why you really need to you really need to take into account a couple of things. And just, I mean, we're way over today. And Sashita, I'm sorry, I feel like I haven't given you a chance to say very much today.
No, I'm good. I'm happy listening to both of you.
We're going to have one where Sashita hosts the episode.
Just PPC for 1 full hour of Sashita.
And my team? Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. So we've kind of jumped around a little bit. I did kind of go out of order. But one of the things, the last takeaways here, so look at your organic content. Don't look at organic and paid content. Just look at your content, right? And look at your content, understand your content, and try to create the content that appeals to the real buyer's journey that you see when you do reverse funnel analysis in Google Analytics, where you look back and see where are people actually interacting and how are they getting here? And what do they really want? What are their real triggers? And map against that. Don't try to impose a fictitious funnel on top of non-real world situations, because you will consistently fail, right? It will not work. And so it's an ongoing journey. And I think one of the things, and this comes up a lot, and I think it's one of the ridiculous things about the digital marketing industry. There's some things, after like 20 some odd years, and I know I'm dating myself. Oh, by the way, Nokia is reintroducing their brick phone. Did you guys know that? I'm gonna actually bring it up.
You're super jazzed about that.
Well, I was more of a Motorola Razr guy.
My first was that silver Samsung that was like the family plan that everyone got. It was like, yeah, a while ago.
Well, you do have to understand that this is like, there was a point in time in the universe where you had to actually pay for every single text message that you sent from a phone. Probably, I'm definitely the oldest one in this group right now. I don't know if you guys remember. It used to be like 20 cents a text. So
I remember.
Yeah, I remember.
Do you remember that? Okay, so here's the reintroduction of the Nokia brick phone. It's going to be like $75. I may get one just because it's kind of nostalgic. But here's a fun fact. Just to wrap this up, sorry. Let me wrap it up, and then I'll get to my Nokia brick phone thing here. It's not paid versus organic. That's a stupid way to look at your content and your digital marketing. You're effectively taking two things that work in concert and pitting them against each other, right? So we need to look at paid and organic and how they work together. So like using that whole versus analogy and doing it that way is actually going to really hurt you in the long run, okay?
Yeah, I think it's a funny narrative that's come about that way. And if anything, it should be the exact opposite. It should be very fluid and like from the team to the tactics.
Exactly. Well, it's also the notion that there are paid teams versus organic teams when they're all on the same marketing team. So it never really kind of made sense to me.
Sometimes
kind
the
of
same
like,
person.
well, yeah, and also just to kind of riff on this one, it's also why are people like, so there's an SEO, so you have a search engine optimization specialist, then you have a dev team, and you have a content team. And I've seen it in several cases where these teams are at odds with each other, but none of that ever makes sense to me because you're all, like, the SEO is there to help findability and searchability on the largest channel that you've got, right? The social team is there to humanize the brand and expand the reach using social networks and creative content. The content on-site team is there to develop deep, valuable content, valuable to the users. The dev team is there to help make it technically happen. The idea that any of these groups should ever be at odds to me is absolutely ridiculous, right? You're all on the same team here. So the same thing with pitting channels against each other, so. Okay, so I'm just going to wait. Okay, so that's the wrap on that one. So this is the Nokia brick phone. I believe I saw it. It was like 65 British pounds, so I think that's about $100. The really cool thing about this Nokia phone here, though, is the fun fact that comes along with the origin of SMS. So I don't know if you guys I actually just heard this for the first time myself the other day. So I found it to be pretty interesting. Oh, stop. Oh my God. Okay. SMS text messages were initially left to 130 characters, right? And there's a very good reason why that was the case. So when they were selling SMS data plans, in fact, SMS text messages were carried on top of pings to the nearest cell phone towers. There was no additional data that was actually being transmitted. They were basically piggybacked on top of existing test pings that went to the nearest cell phone tower within your range, right? So it was only limited to 130 characters because that's all that the ping that was testing the cell phone tower could carry for no cost, right?
Interesting.
So what the big telecom companies actually sold us was 100% profit on traffic that was already existing to their cell phone towers, and they made billions of dollars because there was no new infrastructure. And that was why it's either 130 or 160, but that's also the origination of the length of a tweet. Only because that was initially the maximum limit on an SMS, and that's why you have things in, especially Asia, the rise of emojis, because they're way ahead of us. Right? Emojis and then LOL instead of saying I'm laughing so hard. That's like, so just imagine that most of modern day culture and pop culture originated because there was an engineer at a telco back in the 90s that said we can just piggyback this signal on top of our test pings to the towers and we'll make billions of dollars, all the way to the fact that now like LOL is part of a common vernacular. So there you go. Fun fact for Friday.
Give that man a promotion. Wherever he was.
Probably got nothing out of it, I'll tell you that. But little fun fact about SMS, and enjoy your Nokia brick phone. I hope that the Motorola Razr comes out too, because I like that one as well. All right, everybody.
The good times.
Yeah, the good old days one. Well, I like the flip phone because you never, ever were unsure when the phone was hung up.
Yes, and you never so many last bot dials and things like that.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, everybody. So thank you so much for 200 episodes to everybody that's watching. Thanks so much to everybody that's been watching on Twitch and on YouTube. Love seeing those communities grow. We'll be live streaming onto Twitch regularly, and I'll be building out that channel separately as well. Not gaming related. That'll be just chatting. But thanks again, everybody. Sashita, Courtney, thank you. Courtney, thank you for pulling together all of those clips. And we will see you next week for episode 201. Same B time, same B channel.
Ooh, great. Have a
Bye.
good weekend, everyone.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna pull a Joe Rogan and be like, what is it? The strong and powerful Courtney Castle and the strong and powerful Sashita Gadekar. That's what he calls his guest. All right.
All right.
Okay.
So Banderdash is saying, congrats, I'll watch from the start. Awesome. And we've got, like I said, Banderdash, we've got a ton of back catalog stuff on the channel. We've got it chapterized so you can find topics you're looking for. And yeah, so thanks a lot. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.